Shalom. I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me this truth. Also want to acknowledge all the Akyam who are pushing this truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. So the Spirit today has me in, I was going to do Tobit 4, but Joel, the book of Joel, chapter 3, wants to come out, so I'm going to bring that out instead. Chapter 3 and verse 1 we're going to start on. And so Joel chapter 3, and bear with me, I'm going to just plug this fan in, it's hot as hell. Okay, so I'm going to start out verse 1. For behold, in those days and in that time when I shall bring the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. Alright, and really this is Judah and Jerusalem would be Israel. So this is talking about, when the kingdom gets restored to the proper nation, which is Judah and Israel, which it'll actually be Israel, because all 12 tribes will be back, together as one nation. It says, verse 2, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. Because like we always tell you, the Israelites have been scattered, and Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is going to plead, meaning judge, all the other nations. And that's what that means, Valley of Jehoshaphat. I believe it means Valley of Judgment. And you can bet that Amalek in Israel, those Israelis are going to get judged. All of the elites, all of the Edomites, all of the heathen, all of the 2/3 are going to catch great judgment in that day. Verse 3. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink. So during slavery, this happened, and really not just the American slavery, but throughout all the captivities we've been in. All these nations, all these heathen nations are guilty of this, casting lots, giving a boy for a harlot, meaning selling like a sex toy, a boy. And a boy, you have to remember, would be 11 and under, because in the nation of Israel, when you're 12, you're actually a man. So you're talking about these young children, this pedophilia, which, underground happens with all these elite, as the spirit and the internet are revealing the wicked. You have a lot of these top shelf Edomites, so-called top shelf Edomites. You know what I'm saying? They're involved in pedophilia and whatnot. So the Lord's going to judge them. Everything's going to get restored, man. Let me get this precept in Isaiah, dealing with the Lord pleading with all flesh. Isaiah 66 and 15. It says, "For behold, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai will come with fire and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger and fury and his rebuke with flames of fire." So that's that destruction that Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai is bringing with the chariots, the ones that you call UFOs or UAPs now, Unified Aerial Phenomenon. Esau Edom's always changing names of things for confusion, UFO and a UAP are the same thing. And so is a chariot. But Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai is going to plead with them, which is judge. That word plead means judge. And let me keep reading verse 16. "For by fire and by his sword will Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai plead with all flesh, and the slain of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai shall be many." See, so the slain of the Lord is going to be many. Alright? So the valley of Jehoshaphat, hey, that shows you that the destruction will also be on the other side, not just America, but you can bet all your money that America will be destroyed, first and foremost, you see. Let's go back to Joel 3 and verse 4. "Yeah, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your own recompense upon your own head?" So now he's talking, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai is just talking shit to the other nations, the heathen nations. Dealing with these Palestinians, dealing with the Hamites, which is Tyre and Sidon. Those what you call Africans, so-called Africans. Those are, those Hamites. Which Ham is one of our enemies. Going back to Egypt. The ancient Egyptians were Hamites, which back then they were actually, the name of Egypt was actually Mizraim. Okay, it's not called Egypt. In the scriptures, when you see the word Mizraim, that's talking about Egypt. It says, verse 5, "Because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things." This is dealing with the silver and gold, dealing with the men and women of Israel. Alright? These heathen nations have taken the Lord's silver and gold. Men being the gold, women likened unto silver. Alright? Let's get a precept. Let's go to 2 Kings 12 and 18. "And Jehoash, king of Judah, took all the hallowed things that Jehoshaphat and Jeroham and Ahaziah, his father's kings of Judah, had dedicated, and his own hallowed things, and all the gold that was found in the treasures of the house of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, and the king's house, and sent it to Hazael, king of Syria, and he went away from Jerusalem." See, so this was a wicked king of Judah, who basically, was selling out also, But it says, sold it to the king of Syria. And who is the modern day Assyrian? It's the Edomite. Let me pull out a different precept real quick. 2 Chronicles 21, 16. "Moreover, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai stirred up against Jeroham the spirit of the Philistines," which is the Hamites, "and of the Arabians," which are, the Arabs, that were near the Ethiopians. The Ethiopians are those Hamites that were Egyptians. And actually, Mizraim is what Egypt's biblical name is. Egypt is a Greek word. Verse 17, "And they came up," and Egypt means bondage, slavery. 2 Chronicles 21, And they came up into Judah and brake into it and carried away all the substance that was found in the king's house, and his sons also and his wives, so that there was never a son left him, save Jehoash, the youngest of his sons. See? So those when we go back to Joel chapter 3, it's talking about it's talking about the treasures, the physical silver, gold, but it's also talking about those people, those Israelites who were taken away into slavery, carried away into captivity. Verse 6, the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border. See, so these Hamite nations, these Arab nations, you know what I'm saying, they had part in, they were guilty of slavery just like the Edomite. But the Edomite is the worst offender, obviously, because he's the wicked. You see? Verse 7, behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them, and will return your return your recompense upon your own head. So a recompense is basically a payback. And you see, it says that he's going to raise. Yahweh says he's going to raise us out of the place where we've been sold. All right, because during the Western Atlantic slave trade, obviously there were slaves sold on auction blocks. All right, and you can bet that the indigenous, who are the so-called Native Americans, the Indians, the tribe of Gad and Reuben, they were also sold as slaves, and they were also slaves. All right. We're still slaves, man. And so is Judah and Benjamin and Levi, southern and northern kingdom, both in slavery, according to the scripture. Like we was bringing out at camp, if you have a social security number, you're a slave. See? Verse 8, and I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off, for Yahweh hath spoken it. So Yahweh, just like we were destroyed and enslaved by the Edomites, well, Yahweh is going to do the same thing to these Edomites, man. Let's get a precept real quick. They always say, well, how can you say we're going into slavery? Well, it's because it's all over the Bible. It's prophesied that you so-called white people will go into slavery under the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. Isaiah 14:2, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai for servants and handmaids. So see, we're going to possess you Edomites as servants and handmaids, all right, meaning slaves. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were. Right now, we're your captives, but we're going to take you into captivity. The kingdom of heaven represents captivity for the Edomites, the so-called white people, according to the Bible. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. All right. So we're going to be ruling over the Edomites, the so-called white man. We're going to be ruling over you in the kingdom of heaven. Let's go to verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war, make up the mighty man. Wake up the mighty man. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. And sometimes people come up to us at camp and like, oh man, you're going to start a race war. You're going to start a race war. Well, really what it is, because this proclaim ye among the Gentiles is talking about Tell the 2/3. Tell the Israelites, the 1/3 also that listens. Hey, tell them who they are. And this is the war. The war that's coming is the war in heaven. It's not going to be our war. See, it says, let all the men of war draw near and let them come up. So this is what's happening, man. You have an awakening, a spiritual awakening. The men of Israel are waking up to the truth, who they are, who our power is. And it's really a bad thing for the heathen. That's why they're trying to do everything in their power to oppress this truth from coming out. That's why they got guys like Vocab Malone and Juanito the Scoffer. That's why they got those guys set up so they don't want this truth to come out, man. They're basically being diplomatic on not wanting to give up their kingdom. They don't want to lose their kingdom. Because the prophets being up and awake is a sign of the end, man. Every time Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai is going to bring judgment, he sets his prophets up to talk about the judgment before it happens. Alright? It's like a warning, a trumpet. Verse 10. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Verse 11. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. See? So this is talking about when all the heathen gather, and then because eventually, they're going to have World War III, but they're going to turn their attention to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai of the angels, and the war is going to become from World War III to the war in heaven, which they're going to turn their attention and start trying to fight Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai and the angels. And that's why it says, thither cause thy mighty ones to come down. Who are the mighty ones? The angels. And this is also including the men of the Lord who are taken up and given new bodies, changed in a twinkling of an eye. Which you read that in, I think it's Corinthians. Let me see. Let's see. 1 Corinthians 15:52. This is talking about when we were raised up. Well, let's read 51. It says, behold, and it says observe. That's what behold means. Observe, I will show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. See, the men of the Lord, the prophets, the elect, are not going to sleep, meaning they're not going to die, but they're going to be changed. We're going to change. We're going to be, let's read it, 52. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. See, so we're going to get new, incorruptible, immortal bodies. And in the twinkling of an eye, it's going to happen. So when we go back to Joel 3, that's what it's talking about when it says, you mighty ones, come down. That's a gangster verse right there. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen. So he's telling all the heathen, get together, gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Because the mighty ones are dealing with those men with those new bodies who are going to come down and wreak total havoc on the planet Earth and on the heathen. Verse 12. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. See, so during this time, man, it's going to be war in heaven, and war on earth, which is going to be a destruction like no other. And the heathen have no chance. Alright? Verse 13. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full, and the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. See? And that sickle, it talks about in Revelation about an angel having a sickle. I believe it's Yahweh Shai, and he's thrust that sickle into the earth. And basically what it's saying is, hey, he's paying the earth and the wicked and the heathen a visit. You see? The harvest is ripe, meaning the time is right. Time is now. You know? For their wickedness is great. How wicked can this place be, man? You have men walking around in skirts, grown men, you know, in society, and you know, they're allowed to go into these gender-neutral restrooms, and you know, it's just a wicked ass place, man. Everybody's okay with the homosexuals, you know, but not the men of the Lord, man. We're repenting. We see the way we're vexed by the abominations that are done here. That's why we sigh and cry. You know, like it tells you in Ezekiel 9 and 4. Verse 14. Multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of Yahweh is near in the valley of decision. Okay, so judgment, decision, same thing, valley of Jehoshaphat. That's what's going to happen to this place, man. Verse 15. The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. Because you're going to see missiles. You know, look up a nuclear winter. You know, basically when they have a nuclear winter is when they shoot missiles, test missiles. You can't, man. Everything is affected for a long time, man. You can't, you know, you look into it. It's just this is what it is right here. The sun being darkened, the moon withdrawing from their shining, because all of the dirt. Destruction is basically blocking out the ability of the moon and the sun to shine. You know, look into that nuclear winter. And Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai shall roar also shall roar out of Zion, and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake. But Yahweh will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. See, so the heavens and the earth are going to shake. Why is that? Because of the nuclear missiles that are going to be going off. All of this war happening, destruction, you know, the chariots, everything's going to be happening. It's going to be a day like no other, man, a day of destruction, a day of wrath. All right? Verse 17. So shall you know that I am Yahweh, your power, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no strangers pass through her anymore. All right, so you're going to know your power in that day. You're not going to be falling off as a Gentile if you're an Israelite anymore in that day. All right. Verse 18. And it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop down new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk, and all the rivers of Judah shall flow with waters. And a fountain shall come forth of the house of Yahweh, and shall water the valley of Shittim. So the mountain that's going to drop that new wine, a mountain represents government, right? That's why when you had Russia and the G7, you know, United States, and they all met for the G7 a couple weeks ago, they called it a summit. Why? Because it's a government's meeting. So the mountain is a metaphor for the government, all right, shall drop down new wine, meaning new doctrines, which is going to be this true doctrine. The true doctrine of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai is what's going to drop on the hills, flowing with milk, and the rivers of Judah shall flow with waters. See, so everything will be restored, is what it's saying in this verse. Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. So it's talking about Edom, which is Edom. America is set up by the white man, the Edomite. All right. So this is talking about spiritual Egypt, which Egypt shall be a desolation. This is spiritual Egypt. Edom, This is not physical Edom right now, but it's spiritual Edom, because the same people who ruled Edom are ruling Babylon, America, the Edomites, the so-called white man. All right, and it's all a recompense on their coming down on their own head. Balance. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahshai are they're justice and balance. All right, that's what Yahweh is. Right? Let's get it. Proverbs 11:1. A false balance is abomination to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, but a just weight is his delight. So right there alone, with you having the understanding that the so-called white people are going into slavery, well, it's balanced. They put you in slavery. You know, if you're a so-called black, Latino, or Native American, you've been enslaved. You've been oppressed by the Edomite. So now it's only right that Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai carries out the balance, and they have to go into slavery and be ruled in righteousness under the Israelites. All right. Verse 20, Joel 3:20. But Judah shall dwell forever, and Jerusalem from generation to generation. So okay, Israel and Judah, all right, so the northern and southern kingdom are going to dwell forever, man, generation to generation. Verse 21, for I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for Yahweh dwelleth in Zion. So our blood is going to be cleansed, man. We're going to get changed. We're going to, we're going to have the laws written in our mind and in our heart. And we're going to be restored as the true nation and power of the planet Earth, and have all dominion on the planet Earth. In righteousness will rule under the commandments and laws of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. So that's what it is, man. But first, this devil, Esau Edom, has to be destroyed, all right? And he's going to destroy himself with the nuclear destruction, okay? So with that, I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Rekah Kudash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me this truth. I also want to acknowledge all the Akim who are pushing this truth with sincerity. Shalom to the elect.